And we're not going to say the F word. I think we're live. Heidi ho. And it's week 14. I know it this time. I'm not going to hesitate. I'm going to be very certain about things. And it's week 14. So, what have you got for us? Do you have a really, really bad joke?
I think they're running out. I'm going to have to scrape the barrel now. I mean, Jesus.
26 ones. That's all you needed. Or even, I don't
I
think we
know,
did
I
it
know.
this week.
I'm sorry. I forgot to prepare it. You tell yours while I think of one.
Why didn't the skeleton climb the mountain?
Why?
Didn't have the guts.
Very, very good.
Or not.
Well, this is one of Junior Soprano's jokes from The Sopranos. So the guy goes home to his wife with a bunch of flowers in his hand, and she looks at them cynically and says, "I suppose I have to spread my legs now, do I?" He says, "Why? Don't you have a vase?"
Very good. Stupid jokes. All right. Let's get to the meat of it. Did you do the eating a few hours ago? Okay. Let's go through it.
Okay. All right.
So for those of you, meanwhile, that wasn't watching or paying attention to what happened last week, Alex has had some homework to eat something really nice. Or what he would perceive as nice. I've
That's
lost
right.
you.
Okay.
There you are.
So,
Yeah.
so just for the audience, Pim sent me a PDF. It's like a worksheet called "Overanalyze Your Food," and it's a set of questions, and then a set of descriptions of how I feel after each individual bite of the food leading up to the end.
Yeah, but let's do all of it. So what food did you choose to eat? Let's start there.
Yeah. Hazelnut praline with sea salt coated in milk chocolate.
Sweet. And how much did you want to eat?
85 grams.
Okay, that was specific.
So that's the bar. That's like
Okay.
a rectangular bar, like standard.
Okay. So how hungry on a scale from 1 to 10 were you when you started eating that?
About 4. So it was right after dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that was a mistake. I'm not sure if I should have waited until I was hungry, like as in hungry for a meal, or I thought I don't know. Maybe my logic was skewed, but I thought I would have a more objective sort of. I would have like a more objective response to the chocolate if I already had some protein and some fat in me, rather than being driven along by a hunger that would ordinarily belong to the savory.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong. Doesn't really matter. It's just so you want to know how hungry you were as, just for information. So if it happens again in the future and then okay, this time I hadn't been eating and I was really hungry, was there a difference?
Well,
It's just good for you to know.
I
It doesn't really
I
matter.
think that the most important thing to say is that I wasn't craving it, and actually, I could feel a lot of resistance and apprehension to eating it because I've now just spoiled like 2 weeks of hard work.
Oh, that's a thought for sure. And I'm gonna write that one down because that's I don't want you to think like that.
No, I mean like I don't think that now, but that's how it felt. I felt a sense of dread before eating it, like I was ruining something, something good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know what you're saying.
ruining abstinence, I suppose. But that that abstinence, that goes back to the sort of Christian interpretation of foregoing one's addiction in the 12-step program. Uh, I never
But we're
called.
not we're not working with the abstinence here. We're
No,
working
I
with
know. I no, I
reprogramming the
know.
brain.
No, that's just that. Those are just the feelings that came up.
Yeah.
Like the feelings that I used to have when I was in the 12-step program, when I was moments away from relapsing.
Yeah. And that's what we want. I think it's brilliant that you are being triggered by that, because that's what we want to get rid of. And if you're never approaching it, the fear is always going to be there, and you're always going to be scared of that response, etc.
Yeah.
So now you're doing it in a controlled way, and you can just kind of start relaxing about it. And you might have to do this several times, but not, we're not going to do it next week or anything.
I'd honestly, I'd rather not. I feel fucking poisoned right now. I'd rather not.
Okay, hang on. Let's go back to what actually happened. So you were also supposed to be describing this food in detail, what it smelled like, the color, texture, whatever.
Yeah.
What did you write
Okay.
down there? I want to hear.
So it's a bar of salted hazelnut praline encased in milk chocolate. It's rich, dark brown in color, glossy, patterned with shallow pyramids. It's thin and rectangular. It smells sweet, nutty, rich. It has a smooth texture, and each piece emits a crisp snap when broken.
So when you read that, do you have do you still just feel like, ugh, or do you feel like that sounds really nice?
No, uh, it was pleasurable to write and read those words before eating it, but not anymore.
Okay. So what were you feeling right before eating it then?
Uh, a mixture of reluctance and desperation, um, and then some old feelings of avarice returned. Became excited in the seconds leading up to the first bite, um, and then as soon as I bit into it, I felt like weak and powerless, which is
So when
really.
did the feeling change from being reluctant and feeling desperate about it to being excited about it? What kind of shifted it? Do you know?
I think I wrote down perhaps opposing, contradictory feelings, because half of me was writing down what I felt in the moment, and the other half of me was trying to remember how it normally feels when I eat compulsively, and I wasn't sure what to write, and I don't think I think I lost awareness that I was writing both in present and past tense.
Okay. I mean, you could have felt them all in the present. It's
No,
not
I think what
impossible.
happened was I was writing in present tense, and then there was like some residual memories of. I think I was writing in present and past tense simultaneously.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us about each bite. Like what were you how would you describe each bite and the satisfaction from every bite and how that changed over time?
So bite one, it was satisfying to sink my teeth into the first bite. It was straight out of the freezer, so it was cool on my tongue, not delivering much flavor until it fully liquefied and heated up. Then the pleasure begins and builds. At that point, I feel my brain becoming fuzzy, slightly fuzzy. The sweetness and saltiness peaks, and I let out a tiny smile and a little groan of pleasure, like almost like relief. Um, After swallowing, the pleasure still lingers, I enjoy the sensation of a tiny flake of salt brushing against my teeth. I can still taste the residue on my palate for about 30 more seconds. And now I desire more, and it's noticeable.
Okay.
In other
What about?
words, in other words, I had a certain amount of desire to eat it, but eating the first piece gave me um, a colossal desire to have another piece. Like the second piece was then eaten compulsively.
Okay.
Um, so bite number two, slightly warmer, so not quite as satisfying to bite into, but all other aspects, the pleasure of all other aspects are maintained and are equally as intense as before. Uh, this time, waves of flavor reveal themselves to my palate. It's a real pleasure to taste hazelnut with such intensity. I'm paying attention more the second time around. Again, the salt tickles my tongue and teeth, reminding me of its importance in rendering the confectionery delicious. I like salt and sugar. I want another piece, but it is apparent that my avarice has shrunk slightly. I want, yeah, like I want another piece, uh, but my sort of pleasure centers have been stimulated to a point. So there's a sort of slight tiredness there. Okay, so with bite three, I eat the same size piece as the previous two, and there's a lot less stimulation when eating this same size piece. Now, kind of frustrated, overwhelming compulsion erupts, and I reach for the bar very quickly and break off a piece roughly 3 times the size of the one which preceded it. This achieves the desired sensation. The same feeling of fuzziness in my brain occurs, but it is sharply followed by the beginnings of lethargy. My desire has now plummeted. Now, as I sit and observe my feelings, my desire seems to be at odds with a separate sensation which I can only describe as emptiness and loneliness, a sort of unhappy desire to fill a hole, but the desire is jaded by the anticipation that no further pleasure will be achieved. So now there's a sort of a feeling like pleasure has been maximized. It can't be increased, but there's still a kind of a compulsion that's, yeah, it's now a sort of tired, jaded compulsion. Because when compulsion to consume sugar is married to the expectation of pleasure, they kind of work with each other. But then when the pleasure abates and only the compulsion is left, then there's no more excitement to mask the feelings of loneliness and emptiness. So now I begin to feel like empty, lonely, like all my emptiness, my loneliness is has a magnifying glass over it.
So just a question, did you feel empty and lonely before you started eating the food?
No.
No. Okay. Interesting.
No. So finally, bite number 4. This bite was done in the name of science. So very little pleasure is being stimulated. My palate is bored. It's no longer paying attention. No pleasure centers are being activated. As I chew the chocolate or mulch it, I feel impatience as I wait for the chocolate to finish its journey and go down my throat so I can clean my mouth of the sticky sensation that is now cloying at this point. I pay no further attention to the flavor. My receptors don't seem to connect the flavor to my awareness anymore. I have no desire to continue. It is over, and there is 1/3 of the bar remaining.
Did you stop there?
I stop there.
Perfect. High five. So what are you thinking about all of this? Like 3 bites and you were like, I'm done.
I'm thinking that when I bring awareness to compulsive eating, the power of the compulsion that's rooted in emptiness is it greatly relents. By bringing awareness to my feelings after eating it, which I never do, all of a sudden the compulsion to pull me forward to reach for another bite was greatly diminished.
So just a question with regards to bite 4. Was bite 4, did you eat the thing that was 3 times bigger, or did you decide to just
No,
eat
that was
the
bite
same amount?
3. Bite
Was that
4
bite
was
4?
just another smaller piece, which
Okay.
I
So what?
did. I didn't want to eat bite 4, but I chose to because I wanted to confirm what I predicted would be the experience, and my predictions were confirmed. It
Yeah.
was jaded. It was a kind of it was a sort of it was totally devoid of pleasure, passion, it was devoid of pleasure, passion, and satisfaction, and instead it was like going through the motions. It felt almost obligatory at that point because I had to eat the next piece so I could write something conclusive.
When you ate the 3rd bite that was a lot larger than the others, was that just you giving up control and just like, "Oh, fuck it, I'm just gonna go with what feels right," or
Yeah,
yeah,
like
okay.
I made a conscious choice before taking the first bite to follow my instincts,
Okay.
and that was only interrupted at the end, because once the compulsive instincts were no longer prevalent, then the rational knowledge returned that it's supposed to be an experiment. So my instinct was to stop, but I didn't stop.
Yeah.
So yeah, when my instinct was to eat, I ate, and
Yeah.
then when my instinct was to stop, I still ate. It's just that seemed like the correct thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. So I think we described the taste in detail and how the taste changes, and you've been telling me how you're feeling about it afterwards and how much you ate. And did anything change with regards to your hunger afterwards?
Uh, yeah, yeah. But that's typical for me. If I eat something sweet after dinner and I eat it to satisfaction, then that then kills any capacity for further for the further consumption of the savory. Like after I finish dinner, moments before eating the chocolate, I may have been able to have, a bit of cheese or some, maybe another piece of chicken, but like, not now. Now, I would probably retch if I tried to eat something savory.
What was that?
I was a man outside the window. It's fucking hot. It's like 32 Celsius in this room.
Oh wow. I'm sitting here with the heater on full blast and I got cold hands. So no, 30 is a little bit warm maybe, but I'm a little bit jealous.
You wouldn't happen to be on the other side of the world, would you?
Unfortunately. Okay, so I think I'm super excited about all of this. So are you likely to ever want to eat that hazelnut, sea salted hazelnut praline ever again?
No.
No.
No, I feel poisoned. And I feel fat as well. I feel like, ugh. Like even though I am fat, eating carnivore gives me this wonderful sensation of slimming and having more energy and sleeping less and being lighter on my feet and better of mood as well. But all of that has just collapsed. I feel like I've just undergone a controlled demolition of my progress over the last 3 weeks. It's just I know it'll once the inflammation subsides, I'll be back to where I was. But yeah, I feel like shit. But to be honest, that is typically what happens the first time I break carnivore and I have sugar again. Is I feel like garbage. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way.
How much of the bar is left?
None now because a third was left, but I gave it to my friend.
Okay, so a third of. So you ate maybe 60 grams or a little bit less.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very unlikely to have a huge impact on your physiology. I think, yes, your insulin might not respond the way it has done and, all of that right now because it wasn't that long since you ate it. But I bet that tomorrow morning you're going to be fine. You're not going to notice any side effects from actually eating that little chocolate. I doubt it very much. Worst case, you might maybe be slightly inflamed, but I think you didn't eat enough to cause any physiological damage. So I think the worst here is kind of up here. So I would like to kind of explore that a little bit more, just see what else is going on up there right now.
Well, it's just fuzzy. It's my head is it's like fuzzy. I feel my head right now, like talking to you, I don't feel sharp tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like retarded.
Welcome to my world.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I've been doing a training for 4 days between 2 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. So I'm kind of like, ugh. And this morning I woke up again 1:45 and I was like, no, I'm not going up at this time. So I had about 5 hours of sleep for 4 days. So my brain is not quite as sharp either.
Well, honestly, I'm not just saying this as a compliment, but I didn't notice. You seem just as retarded as usual.
Thanks. That's good to hear. I'm just as retarded as usual. But okay, so your head is fuzzy, but what else is going on in there? Yes, what are you thinking about it? Like, I'm giving you the opportunity to analyze here. You love doing that shit.
Love doing that shit. Well, yeah, I wouldn't just let me off the leash and run me like a dog. I would ask me specific questions.
So, what are you thinking about this whole experience of eating that praline?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have been shown that things can be different. I'm very grateful for feeling that I'm making progress, because I've never driven to that chocolate shop before without being accompanied by tremendous compulsivity. I've never been into that chocolate shop without a sense of sort of guilt at having prolonged again my plan to be healthy. And I actually was grateful for the feelings of reluctance and resentment. Like, it was, as I was driving home from work, I had forgotten to go and buy the bar. And then suddenly, when I was 50 meters from my house, I went, oh, fuckity fuck wanks. I've got to drive all the way back to the other side of town because I'm supposed to get the cunting chocolate bar for the fucking. And there was a real sense of hostility and inconvenience and injustice, and I'd never ever associated those feelings with buying chocolate. Like, I've never ever gone, oh, for fuck's sake, I need to go and buy chocolate. It's like, so I was quite grateful. I'm very grateful now to have had that experience, for things to finally be inverted after so
Yeah.
many years, to want a glass of milk and a piece of cheese, but to have to forego what I really want in order to have sugar. Normally it's the other way around. It's like, I know I've got some lovely healthy raw cheeses in the fridge, and I could eat some and have a little bit of pleasure, experience pleasure, but also experience moderation and knowing when to stop, because I never ever eat cheese compulsively. Never have, not even once. Every time I eat cheese, even with a bit of honey, I just stop after 4 or 5 mouthfuls, and it's nice. It's nice to know that I'm getting some vitamin K2 and some bacteria and some butter fat, and it's all, ultimately it does more good than bad. And that's what I wanted. That's what I really wanted tonight, was some cheese, but I felt almost inconvenienced by the confectionery, and that has to mean that something's changed, and I'm very grateful for that, because I've been
Yeah.
waiting for this for a long time.
Can we go into that, exactly that resistance to wanting it? Is that, it sounds to me like it's like, okay, that's inconvenient because I was really looking forward to eat cheese and I don't want that. But is there something else behind that, like the fear of being stuck in that, that you're
No,
gonna go into a binge,
no,
or is
no,
there
no, no,
anything
no,
else behind
no.
that?
I was worried that was going to happen,
Yeah.
but in the end, it's just because I didn't fucking want it. In the end, it's just because I just didn't want it. It was a pain in the ass. But to be fair, I don't like binging on. I don't like eating chocolate when it's like over 30 Celsius.
No, I can understand that.
And I went to buy it when it was at the high point of the day at like 2 p.m. when it was scorching.
Yeah.
And but yeah, um, I wasn't frightened that it would derail me.
Okay.
I'm not frightened now. I know what to expect. I know what happens. Tomorrow morning I'll wake up, and it will feel natural and instinctive to want to seek out a different kind of breakfast. That's just what happens when I
Okay.
break carnivore with carbohydrates. The very next morning, I imagine, probably for bacterial reasons in the gut, I
I
have
want you
a
to pay attention to that and see if that actually happens.
yeah.
So report back next week if you did wake up and you wanted a different kind of breakfast, because this is also very interesting information, if nothing else, because you know how to handle that. So I'm not worried about that, but it's also quite interesting to know because you didn't eat that much of it. And I imagine that in the past, when you've been breaking carnivore, it's probably been a lot more. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I know it only takes a little bit, and then in the morning there's always something different. And instead of going to like yogurt or kefir or bacon, milk, stuff like that, my brain is saying like toast.
Yeah. Okay.
It just happens every time. So I'm anticipating that. So
Or your brain has now already started making these associations that you're gonna feel like shit if you do it. Because you seem very like, ugh, I'm never gonna eat that praline again. And maybe that will extend to the toast as well. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe. So that's why I want to pay attention and let me know next week. Or you can even send me a message tomorrow morning when you wake up and let me know. And we
yeah,
can report
I
back to you guys.
absolutely yeah, I will.
Yeah, awesome. Do you feel any like sadness or grief that you didn't get to enjoy? Something that you thought that you were going to enjoy a lot?
No,
No. Not even a tiny
no. I
bit?
just the sadness is is what I experienced just after bite 3.
Yeah.
It's like I looked under a microscope and saw I sort of looked beneath the fabric of addiction, and I saw what was underneath.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about that, what comes up then?
Uh, Feelings of grave worry and concern for myself.
Okay. Where does that come
It's
from?
well, it's heavy. It's heavy. It's you know holes either get bigger or smaller. You are either spiraling downwards or upwards. I know that I can repair the damage. I know that there's a way out of this. It's just grave. Those grave feelings. I suppose they come from coming to terms with the scale of the scale of like the length of time and the amount of my life I've dedicated to killing myself. It's hard. Um, brings up lots of feelings of like recrimination and guilt, shame. Like
So you
I've,
felt like
yeah.
eating, and when you started feeling this feeling that you had throughout your whole addiction, like was that like opening the lid to all of those emotions? Like all this bullshit is here again. Is that what you're trying to say, or is this different? Am I not
Well,
understanding you correct?
the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
uh, I've been pushing myself to stay carnivore with a sense of kind of like with a system of combining action when I feel anxious, like turning anxiety into action, but then also remembering to sit with the anxiety that leads to compulsive eating, because there's when I first feel anxiety, it's normally because I'm confronted with a decision that I have to make, but I'm not making it. There's an area of responsibility to which I need to attend, but I choose not to.
Yeah.
And that anxiety builds, and then I'm in the danger zone. So I've been trying to meet anxiety with action, and then meet the kind of more desperate anxiety with stillness, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
when I'm feeling cravings, I stay still. But when I feel anxious that I'm not progressing in life, I've been trying to take action, push myself to take action even though I'm afraid. And
Yeah.
the last week's been really good, because there have been a number of things which have needed addressing for months, and I did them finally.
Awesome.
Yeah. And a few potential, like a few difficult interpersonal moments that were salvaged and ended up going in a positive direction rather than a negative one. So it's been really good. Honestly, it's been a really good week.
A high five
Uh,
again.
yeah.
High five.
But I will say that there's a trade-off. Like when you need to not ignore all of the messages that come from your subconscious. You have to face your fears. You have to look at them before overcoming them, and by doing that, you invite um, you invite you swim to greater depths, and there are depths to my fear and my hopelessness which are overwhelming sometimes. I don't resort to eating sugar like I did, but sometimes, like over the last week, there have been moments where I've just been like lying on my bed, just paralyzed with fear, just looking up at the ceiling, like, and it's like a wave of depression. I just wait for the storm to pass, but it's really frightening what I observe in myself as I'm waiting for the storm to finish. Thoughts like, I'll never be happy, I'll never make it, I'll never be the person I want to be. Thoughts like the world is turning into a place in which it is no longer worth living. And sometimes I hear like voices say, you know, the end is coming, like it's nearly over. It's really frightening.
Okay.
And it's what happens when I don't have a substance to sort of quell the raging, burning fires of fear. It's like sugar is like just dousing flames with water, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess I've replaced like sickness with fear, with hardship, with struggle. Like it's I know what it is. It's just it's everything I haven't faced, and it's the scale of the mountain I have to climb, revealing itself to me. But it's these are pretty frightening times for me, like internally,
I would like
because
to
yeah.
introduce a concept to you, which we call just equal airtime. So you don't have to get rid of these thoughts, but I would like you to give an equal amount of time to thoughts that are the opposite and equally true to you. So if you take 20 minutes laying on your bed, paralyzed, just waiting for all of those thoughts to just like do whatever they're doing, can you spend 20 minutes thinking about things that are the opposite if you can, or that contradict those thoughts, or just if you can't think of anything like that, just positive things like reasons for why you want to live, reasons for why you can become the person that you want to be, etc.
Yeah, I've heard of that technique. I can't remember who told me about it, but it's like, yeah, you that one contrives it so that every negative thought is met by a positive counterpart.
Yeah, because
And
they're both there.
yeah.
The only difference is where you choose to focus. I mean, you're always going to have negative thoughts. I mean, everyone does. It's just that not everyone is focusing on it as much, maybe, or as often. So can we start brainstorming a little bit now? What other thoughts could you have? I want to get them out of your head now while you're not in that moment, because when you're there and you're just having those negative thoughts, you're not going to be able to think about the positive ones.
Well, I mean, logic always helps. I always remind myself that language is created after experience and observation. So we wouldn't have a vast lexicon dedicated to transformation if it weren't actually possible, if it hadn't actually happened. People do transform, and I suppose I'm no different. And I have seen myself change.
Yeah.
And I'm not the same person I was. And it's just that my patterns of thinking and feeling are currently rooted in that which is not possible.
Okay. So
So
that's an
so
observation that you think you
yeah.
made.
Yeah, so feelings and thoughts that pertain to the possible are they're just simply not close to me yet. They're on the horizon. There's a journey that I have to take, and it's important for me to remind myself of that.
Can I offer you a different thought?
Of course.
Maybe you just haven't learned how to do that yet. It's not really a journey, it's just that you don't quite know how to do it yet. Just like with the cravings, it's a skill.
I have learned how to do it.
Okay?
I just I don't allow myself. I have a kind of operational malfunction wherein there's some will within me that is constantly negating the positive.
What do you think that is about?
It's about protecting me, I suppose. You
From
can
what?
always, if you subscribe to the negative, the eventual outcome is negative, and it creates a feedback loop that it seems more real than anything else, because outcomes that can be predicted consistently trick one into thinking that is the ultimate reality in which one can trust.
Let's stay there for a bit. Because everything you say is such a good realization. It's like, this is what you've been doing for so many years. Your brain knows that you will survive doing this shit. It knows how it feels. It knows it feels terrible, but it's a lot better than change, because change is scary. There might be tigers coming to eat you if you change. So this is really, really good information to have. And I'm really glad that you said that, because it shows me that you actually know what's going on. You know that this is what is happening. Now all you have to do is just choose to not remain there. You're like, I'm badass. I'm gonna do scary shit. You have been doing so much scary shit the last few weeks. It's like what I was telling people that would say, oh, it's boring to come back and nothing's happened. And at the time I said, there is a lot of stuff going on behind the curtains. It's just that your brain, or your lower part of the brain, was having a massive tantrum to try and protect you. And it needed to go through all of that before you could actually take control and kick its ass. But meanwhile, things were going on. It was like a process inside of you that we couldn't see from the outside. And it doesn't really matter. I know that it was going on. I don't know if you were aware that it was going on. And now it's like your prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, knows the solution already. Now it's just the action part that is missing. Like right now, you're sitting in that fear of taking this step, but you actually know what needs to be done to take the next step.
It's all about trust and faith. I if a situation appears to frighten me, if I allow it to have its way and I let that fear invade what I choose to believe intellectually about the situation, then it affects my behavior. My behavior then acts to serve the negative outcome which I have decided is inevitable. And then it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes. I have goosebumps. Just want to tell you.
It's just that by believing, by always taking the cynical and pessimistic path, I'm protected from the thing of which I'm most afraid, which is being hurt or humiliated as a sort of consequence or punishment for the naivety of optimism. I think at some stage in my life, I was naive and innocent and optimistic, and I paid the price. And I never wanted to be vulnerable again.
It's
Believing
because you're
in,
scared of fear and humiliation, or
yeah,
hurt and humiliation is what you said.
yeah.
Let's go there.
So,
Humiliation, what does that feel like in your body?
like I'm being crushed.
Okay.
It
Can we
it
be more
feels like
specific? Like
pressure. It
where?
feels all over. It's like I'm being crushed side to side, top to bottom.
What else?
What does humiliation feel like? It's like a nervous electrical current running through your body, like panic. It makes you want to run away or disappear and hide.
Anything else?
It makes my breathing heavy. It makes me feel small, young, like a child being shouted at by my father.
Stay with the feeling in your body.
It makes my breath get shorter and stunted, interrupted. Paralyzes my thoughts and my feeling. It makes me feel trapped. Yeah, like I can't move, I can't escape. Like naked, exposed, weak.
When you say weak, is that like muscle weakness? Is it in your brain? What are you talking about here?
Weak, not as in powerless, as in the
Okay.
suspension of the will. Unable, like the fluidity of existence is suddenly interrupted. Like my very essence is just like someone has just pressed pause and then I'm frozen. That's what humiliation feels like. Like I'm frozen in time.
Okay. So when we're talking about bodily sensations, it's literally like this huge pressure all over your body, and like there is an electrical current running through you, your breathing is getting heavy and short, stunted, and your thoughts are paralyzed.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what it is.
And I've, like that line by Pink Floyd, exchanging a walk-on part in a war for a lead role in a cage. Like, I put myself in a cage.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Like, this is all it is. It's a sensation or several sensations in your body. And you're like, hell no, I can't do all of this shit because then it's going to feel like I'm getting crushed for a bit and I'm going to have this electrical current going through and my brain's going to be paralyzed for a bit.
The consequence of this over the last 2 decades is that I have created an identity based on everything I can't do and shall not do. Like, my life has become the sum of not living, but rather evaluation of existence. All I
Because
do
of
is
this feeling?
evaluate. Well, I don't know. It would be perhaps too blunt and crude to say at this stage. It's probably a complex picture, but I have become an evaluator of existence, of people, of ideas. I'll evaluate the notion of doing a job and decide not worth doing without having experienced it.
Yeah, but we
The
don't want to go
same,
back to the past right now. We've been doing so good today. Stay with me. Think about it. I'm telling you, when I feel humiliated, I feel like this huge pressure in my body, it feels like there's an electric current, and my breath is getting all weird, stunted, heavy, and my brain's getting fuzzy or paralyzed. And you're like, okay. But if I choose to just feel this for a bit, I can have whatever I fucking want.
yeah, it's about letting yourself not be perfect. It's about letting yourself fail. I've been trying to force myself to be perfect, to be a person who never fails, so that I can, and that's it. That's an overcorrection. That's an overcompensation for the reality that my starting point when I was a child, for
No,
whatever
no, 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 no.
reason.
Let's not go there. Stay with me. We don't want to explore why. What we want to look like now is like, this is all it is. This is what is preventing you from moving forward. Do you agree with me?
What, that going into the past doesn't help?
No. But because the past is the past, you can't change the past. If there's trauma there, you want to kind of work through that, I would recommend that you just find a professional that can do that. But I want to separate that because that is not helpful for you growing and moving forward. Finding out the reasons for why you have done things in the past might give you maybe a sense of relief, but it's very rarely that it actually motions you to move forward. And your
It's
brain
not
is going
that.
to want to take you there all the time. It's like, well, I'm just doing this because of, it's like, yeah, so what? You can always choose now how you want. move forward. Things we can't do anything about, everything that's happened in the past. Actually, you can, because if you have two people who's been in the exact same situation, they're going to describe the past in different ways. And which one is the true way or the true description? Because both of these people think that they remember it exactly how it was, and we very rarely do that. And we can tell stories in different ways. And we might go there someday and just kind of look at the story and how we can retell it in a different way that is more helpful to you. I'm all for that. But right now, all I want you to consider is that the only thing that is in your way is another feeling, which is humiliation, because that's probably one of the worst emotions that we can have. And how that feels is just this crushing, etc. That's all it is. So if you were willing to consider that, or if you're willing to feel any emotion, you can get exactly what you want, and you can be whoever you want. And that's not going to happen overnight, but you have been doing really, really good work up until now. Like, you have been doing tremendous work, and there's been so much progress, and you've been working on actually allowing those cravings and other emotions coming up. And now you're like, yeah, but this one's different. There's no difference. It's just another emotion. It feels different, but it's another emotion. Are you with me?
Of course, always.
How often do you feel humiliated?
Every day.
Okay. That's going to be your homework. Feel it. Every day. Set the timer if you need to. 1 minute, then I'm done. I'm cool with that. But I want you to start practicing with that one, because that's probably the worst one I can think of. And it seems to ring true for you. So far, we might find a worse one. I don't know.
I might need to talk to you about this in private.
Okay, that's fine. But no matter what's behind it, the work is the same. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. So for next week, you are feeling humiliation. And let me know what you're thinking about breakfast foods tomorrow. Okay, thank you all for being here. Thanks for your kind words. Yes, Alex is amazing. We're getting there. It's rough, but it's worth doing. Okay. See you all. Bye.